Hi, it's Emily, Kid Lit Book Love. I'm here to talk to you with a little review about The Phantom Tollbooth. I am in love with this book. What a wonderful, wonderful book. I never knew anything about it. It was written in 1961 by Norton Juster. And I watched actually a interview with him that Scholastic did on somewhere here on YouTube, and he was originally an educator, a teacher, and he got the idea to write a book about all these different lands that have some kind of educational theme. And there are a lot of parallels in the Phantom Tollbooth to Through the Looking Glass, and Alice. So like Alice goes through the rabbit hole or through the looking glass to this alternate world where everything's kind of upside down. Very similar here, but it's a little boy, and he goes through the Phantom Tollbooth, a toll booth in his bedroom that takes him to these magical lands where he has to go on a quest that is definitely a quest story. And he has to go from one land to another to discover things, to complete his task, to learn what he needs to learn. And the whole theme of inversion is very much present in this book, just like in Through the Looking Glass. Everything's kind of backwards and upside down, so very similar parallels here. And the writing is beautiful, and I love how Norton Juster, he puts in his prose and his narrative little hints to assuming a child or a kid reads it, of how important education is. And I think this book should be read by all adults, especially people in the business world. In companies, I think, should read this book, because I think it really teaches you to strive to be the best you can be, to appreciate what you have, to solve problems by digging deeper. And there's a big theme on gratitude, on appreciation for what you have. Now, the book starts out with Milo, this little boy who, the very first chapter is very melancholic, very humdrum, and I almost interpreted it as the author must have had experience with depression, because he wrote like an adult who has manic depression, but it's a little boy who's depressed. He finds no interest in anything. All these wonderful things he has all around him, friends and books and toys, and he can't find any interest in anything, and he's very depressed. And this Phantom Tollbooth comes to him. It appears in his room, just like Mary Poppins shows up to children that need her. And he's like, oh, well, I may as well go through. There's nothing better to do, And he goes through, and he first goes into the land of the doldrums, which is so funny. When I was reading this book, I actually know someone who has manic depression, and it's like I felt like I was reading his book. It's so funny. But he goes into the land of the doldrums, which is gray and gloomy and misty, and everything's crummy, and all these sort of bad luck happens, and he thinks, oh, well, just my luck, very Eeyore-ish, and it's just so funny and brilliant the way he writes it. And so Milo has to go through this quest. He has to overcome and learn to appreciate what he has, and the book is really about valuing education, learning to solve problems, and if you're familiar with the law of attraction, which is basically meaning what you focus on, what you visualize, you can create in your life, kind of creating your own future, your own destiny. There's a lot of that in here too, a lot of attraction parallels. And I'm going to read you the very first page to show you what I'm talking about with Milo. There was once a boy named Milo who didn't know what to do with himself, not just sometimes, but always. When he was in school, he longed to be out, and when he longed to be out, he wanted to be in. On the way, he thought about coming home. He thought about going again. Wherever he was, he wished he was somewhere else. And when he got there, he wondered why he wondered about being there in the first place. Nothing interested him, nothing really at all, least of all the things that should have interested him. It seems like everything is just a waste of my time, remarked Milo. And so it starts out very depressed, very bored, very lackluster, doesn't find interest in anything. And so as he goes through all these different lands, just like Alice in the Looking Glass has to, Through the Looking Glass is sort of an allegorical tale where she's live in a chess game, and she has to hop from land to land or hop from square to square to achieve the goal of becoming queen. So it's also a quest story, just like in a chess game with all these strange characters she comes across along the way, which is what happens to Milo as well. And so as Milo goes to the different lands, he goes to the doldrums, he goes to Dictionopolis, and, learns all about words and their importance, and everything's kind of backwards, and learns all about numbers and their importance, and everything's backwards. And And he grows and evolves and learns to appreciate things. And I love, and he gets to the Silent Valley where there's no sound at all. And the silence master lady talks to him about sounds. And, you know, Juster really writes about how important it is to value things we have that we don't think about, like sound and sight and numbers and the importance of words. It's really interesting. I love how he writes about music. He writes, "Oh, how about music?" asked Milo excitedly. "Right over here," she says. "We weave it into our looms. Symphonies are the large, beautiful carpets with all of the rhymes and melodies woven in. Concertos are those tapestries, and all the other bolts of cloth are serenades, waltzes, overtures, and rhapsodies. And we also have some of the songs that you love to sing in this sound box." So, I mean, his writing is just beautiful. And I literally laughed, chuckled many times in this book. There were actually quite a few words I didn't know, and I have a master's degree in English, so I had to write it down, look it up. So there's a few words, but he even says in his interview, when he's asked, why do you use words that some children don't know? And he says, well, a word is just a word. And in fact, putting in a word they don't know is purposeful, because then they need to learn to look it up. And like in The Looking Glass with Alice encountering Humpty Dumpty and all the talk about word uses and words and saying what you mean and don't saying what you don't mean, there's a big theme of wordplay in here as well. Very strong parallels, and I actually read these texts back to back, so you can really see it when you do. What I love about the book is at the end, he finishes his quest. He comes back, ends up back in his bedroom, and the bedroom that was so dull and humdrum and sort of, you know, yucky before is now this fascinating place. And as he misses the toll booth and he's looking out, thinking that he misses it, he's looking out the window thinking there are a lot of things outdoors to explore and do, but then he realizes now everything around him is full of wonder and opportunity and magic. So let me read you this passage. "And in the very room in which he sat, there were books that could take you anywhere, and things to invent and make and build and break, and all the puzzle and excitement of everything he didn't know, music to play, songs to sing, and worlds to imagine, and then someday to make real. His thoughts darted eagerly about as everything looked new and worth trying." So, I just love this book. I can't recommend it enough. Read the book for yourself. Again, you know I'm a big fan of adults reading children's literature. And this book, even if a younger child, an elementary child, middle school child read it, they would be entertained for sure, but they wouldn't see the real genius of Juster's lessons, hints, tips, tricks, metaphors for appreciating life, and the power of gratitude, and the value of creating the life of your dreams that are woven into the scenes. So only an adult probably would understand or see that. Definitely recommend this book. I love it. And go to YouTube here. You can type in Norton Juster interview, and there's a short little interview of 1 or 2 parts where he talks a little bit about the book. I love this book. And it says right on the back, for Milo who has plenty of time. And Milo, and the whole thing is, you know, and through the book, it's life goes by fast. Don't miss opportunities. Don't be afraid to pursue what you want. Oh, just wonderful story. It's very motivating, very motivating for me. The characters are great. His dog, Talk, who's his friend, brilliant. It's just brilliant. I just think it's the most brilliant children's book I've read, really, so far. So I would really recommend it. Love it, love it. Please tell me what you think if you read it. If you haven't, go read it and tell me what you think in the comments below. Thanks for watching.